Welcome back to the B Stream, guys. We are here for yet another match in the group stages of the Berlin Major, and it's teams that are on their last legs at the moment, Mandy. SANDBOX really has struggled, and to be frank, Soniqs not a lot better.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one, SANDBOX. We had high hopes going into this major. They have a new and rejuvenated roster, but it feels like they need a little bit more experience, a little bit more time to fill it all in together and get those details ready for international events. On the side of Soniqs, it's a completely different story. These guys, they've been together for over a year now, but still not showing up in the server.
Well, let's take a deeper dive into the Soniqs, right? This is a team that has generated pretty high expectations. They managed top 6 at 6 Invitational, like you said, but they've dropped off recently. What's been going on?
The Soniqs, we're not really sure. They also seem to be one of those teams that go through those cyclical periods where they're doing really well, they don't do so well. After 6 invite, they came back into stage 1 and they ended up finishing 8th, which is a very poor finish, only to come back through to 2nd in stage 2. It just feels very up and down. It's very turbulent for this team, and right now seems to be a period of adversity for them.
Well, everyone is also talking about how Super has announced his retirement after this competition. I have no doubt that Soniqs want to go out with a bang, and they are capable of that. We saw that at SI. They were just knocking teams out left, right, and center. But here, they're the ones who are on the verge of elimination. They've only got a single point. But if they can win this game in regulation, they can guarantee that they won't be eliminated from the groups today. There's still a chance that they could make it into the playoffs through to tomorrow. But let's take a deeper dive into the Koreans, right? SANDBOX, there was a lot of hype behind this team in stage 2. These roster changes, Arakuza looking so hot.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype going back into it, especially the new young gunners. That seems to be the theme of this major so far, is there are so many new players that we look towards, a lot of rookies that seem to be performing very well. On the side of SANDBOX, though, it doesn't feel like that synergy is fully developed. It doesn't feel like this roster of 5 is so mature that there's an ebb and flow going throughout the team that the rest of the teams in this major have.
Yeah, you mentioned experience before. Like, some of these players on this roster, like Envy Taylor, for example, have so much experience, and then a guy like Arakuza, he might have been one of the best players globally during stage 2, but he's actually been one of the worst here at the 6 Major Berlin. He's never played in a major before, perhaps a little bit of nerves getting in there. And that is the story of it for SANDBOX. They don't have a single point, and it doesn't get much better from here. Like, if they lose this game, they've lost to every team in their group, and it's going to be a really grim run. But Soniqs, you know, they have to give it their best as well. If they are to make it out of playoffs, they've got to win as many games as possible. But let's start talking maps, right? Let's get into that map, Veto. And to me, I'm looking at their history. I think these teams have only played back at 6 Invitational, and it was a 2-0 win for Soniqs. So in terms of head-to-head history, Soniqs are looking like the favoured team.
Well, that being said, it is a 2-0 history, but this is a brand new roster, Dev. And for the team of SANDBOX, they're going into this stage saying, okay, we need to learn. This is the first time that we're as a 5 at an international event. I think they're going to cut themselves a little bit of slack and say, we need that growth, we need that mentorship in our team. I don't think they're going to be too upset going against the Soniqs roster looking back at the history. I think they're just seeing it as a new reset type of game.
Well, let's look at that map, Veto, and determine where we're going to be heading. Goes through the bans, 9 maps in the pool, ban. Oregon is where we end up. I trawled through the history books today, and I saw that at the 6 Invitational, when these two teams played, and Soniqs won quite convincingly 2-0, one of the maps they played was Oregon. It was a 7-0 for Soniqs.
What?
Yeah, that is...
Damn.
That is rough for SANDBOX, but I mean, credit to them. They had the choice between that or bank. Is this a mistake from SANDBOX? Are we hoping that they've learned something in the last couple months?
Well, like I said, these guys, brand new roster. Maybe Oregon works out for this group of 5. Maybe they've scrimmed it and they're feeling happy with it. On the side of Soniqs, though, this is a roster with history. They've been together. They've probably scrimmed Oregon hundreds, maybe thousands of times even. I can only imagine that perhaps the experience is going to get the better of SANDBOX.
It feels like this is a big mental game, in my opinion, though. Like, SANDBOX, we know what they're capable of. We know how well they played throughout stage 2. It's players like Arakuza who can't seem to get in the right headspace, and as a team, like, that chemistry, that's what's been letting them down. And it feels like a bit of a similar story for Soniqs, right? Like, they lost that G2 game after being 5-1 up. Where is the mental?
The mental is in the bin. That's what I can tell you. Once you get reverse swept like that, there's only that crushing feeling of, we were so close, you know? And it's so hard to be able to come back mentally from that. But today is a new day. They've had their rest. They're going up against SANDBOX, who are in the same point in the standings as they are, essentially. And it's their chance to come back into it and show that, yes, we do deserve to be at this major. Don't count us out just yet.
Well, Oregon is our battleground. Let's jump into it. Let's get this game started. SANDBOX SANDBOX and Soniqs, both teams with so much ahead of them, so many stakes to this match. The verge of elimination for them both. Let's see what you guys reckon. Wow, a very split community vote. Soniqs just edging out 57%. A lot of hope still held, it seems, for the Korean roster, who are yet to find a single point.
Oregon will be the battlefield of choice for these two teams. One that's supposedly unknown between these rosters. We don't really know how SANDBOX will play out against the experience of the Soniqs. Ban phase will now start out. The Soniqs starting out on the defense, of course, will pick up that first ban. And it'll be a Hibana. This one's pretty interesting.
Looking back throughout history, Soniqs banned Hibana only once during Stage 2, and that was against TSM on Clubhouse. So I don't really feel like that bears much weight onto this one. This must be that Soniqs have seen how SANDBOX play, and they want to get rid of that Hib. It's going to be more ace play instead for the hard bridge.
Fascinating though, the second attacking ban to go out will be the Nuke, which means that things like your Thatcher, your Maverick, your Flores, lots of options are open to the attacking half instead. Hibana being banned out does mean that some of those hatches may be a little bit more tricky to get open. We see a lot of teams bring it to try and open all three hatches going into the basement, but having to lean into that Maverick to trick the hatch, Thermites, Aces can be made a little bit more challenging through that mid-round.
Azami, wow. I'm a big fan of Azami, and we've seen some excellent use of her for anchor positions, for retakes, for aggressive plays throughout the competition here at the Berlin Major. I personally haven't noticed SANDBOX specifically using it. I don't know if there's a particular reason Soniqs want to get rid of it, but it does leave Mira in. If we go down to basement, we might see some teams decide to use that. We saw that a lot from Kina yesterday on XSET, and it worked like a charm.
That being said, though, we are being taken to the basement by the Soniqs, and they are not choosing to take the Mira along with them. They've just got the trusty smoke shotgun, as well as the rest of these players supposedly going for what is an extended roam. I feel like this is the MO of Soniqs, if you'd ask me. They have their one anchor of Super who holds onto the site, while the rest of them play the soft roam, trying to hold on to as much map control as they possibly can.
Seems to be the style that they're looking for. In SANDBOX, we're going to be looking at players to get on these entries. Couple of repicks, and it looks like they might well be locked in. It's not often you get to see the big old blitz come out. MV Taylor is taking a trip back down memory lane. It was 2018 where MV Taylor used to be a bit of a blitz main and a menace back in the days. Is this rush going to work?
Now, hang on a moment. It definitely does look like a rush. There's a pre-placed drone actually on top of the bomb chassis, seeing into that long hallway of the bomb site, but 3 anchors actually holding onto it as of now. Maybe they've seen the operator picks on the default cams or something like that, but the Soniqs, they look so ready for this rush.
Nade to try and take down the barricade. Soniqs so aware of it. MV Taylor to try and go in. Shile with the opening pick. MV Taylor on the blitz, spotted, taken low as well, and the gas traps these players right into the meat grinder for SANDBOX. The Soniqs coming away with such a significant advantage. Static, though, with the backstab immediately traded. Soniqs not going to let that happen. Yeti, fantastic shot from him. It's not over yet.
Supra's gone down now. 2 versus 1 situation for Good Boy with that
God.
LMG. Kansan and Good Boy now in the 1 versus 1 situation, but Good Boy, he's got intel.
It's the youngest player at the tournament. Good Boy now. So with a huge task ahead of him to clutch the opening round against Kansan. There's information for Soniqs on that bulletproof camera. No nades left. What's Good Boy going to do? That's a bit of a heal from the Thunderbird. He's listening. Can he hear Kansan creeping up from the hallway? Kansan knows he doesn't have to make the move. The clutch master himself. Can he get it done against Good Boy? But there's information for Good Boy, and he lands that shot. SANDBOX kick it off with a bang.
Good Boy, thank goodness he came in with that LMG clutch in the 1 versus 2 situation there. It felt like Soniqs had such a good read onto the rush that SANDBOX were going to go for. They reconsolidated 4 out of the 5 players back on the bomb site. They held that elbow shield for dear life, but eventually Super went down to the hands of the Blitz, and then Good Boy was able to come in and clean up the rest of the bomb site to take out the round for SANDBOX.
I've always wondered, why is it that Super wears the towel on his head? Like, is it really that hot?
It's warm. It's toasty.
It is pretty toasty here. But it's going to heat up further in the server if SANDBOX keep that up. Certainly setting the pace early. And from the game that we watched yesterday, Mandy, with the XSET and Rogue teams in the server playing Oregon. We saw how strong this Laundry supply basement site is. Off the top of my head, I don't really remember any attack rounds won on that bomb site during that game. And in contrast here, SANDBOX already setting the pace with and setting the standard for this match. Finding the opening round, attacking onto this bomb site, it really puts a lot of pressure onto Soniqs, in my view.
That being said, Soniqs are going to repeat the bomb site, and this time we'll choose to bring the mirror along with them. We've got one left in the pocket of Rexon to try and make a sort of flexible anchor push once they've figured out what SANDBOX are going for. SANDBOX, they've repeated the pick on the blitz as well, so it would indicate that they would want to go for a more explosive type execute onto the site, but taking it a lot more slowly through this early round.
It was a bit of a gamble for Soniqs to go back to Oregon. Now, they did destroy SANDBOX on this back in SI, but SANDBOX hasn't actually played this map in a very long time. Haven't played it. I mean, they played it once in the National League, but they haven't otherwise played it in all of Stage 2. So these blitz strats, like, this is something that's been hidden. And now Soniqs is going to have to do some mid-game adaptations to try and keep up.
Soniqs, once again, are consolidating their plays back on the side. I feel this is very uncharacteristic of them. Usually Soniqs, they're all up and about throughout the map, but they seem to have a very good read that SANDBOX are just literally going to do the same thing that they did about a round ago. There we go. Grenade to open up, the barricade to be destroyed, spearheaded by Taylor.
Oh my god, and Static kicks it off with a nice pick. The gas, though. You can see the way Cans is playing that shield. He does not want to forfeit the position, in fact. We're going to see an eruption from Soniqs. 3 picks, and Envy Taylor harassed by the gas even further. It's just Static and Envy left, and they got 4 players to find. That diffuser cold on the ground.
Static, though, starting to creep his way through lobby down the Laundry stairs. Is anybody watching? He opens up the barricade, gives away his position, and takes a heap of damage for it.
Oh, so hard, but oh my god, they line up! Envy Taylor finally deals with the smoke, but a C4 is more than enough to finish the job. Just Static now, walking straight onto a mirror window. They know exactly where he is. 1v3 is a very tall order. We've seen the damage that Static can do. He puts his cap on backwards and he says, come at me, bro.
But the Soniqs, they're just so disciplined, not willing to give anything away. 3 players are trained on this double doorway, and none of them are peeking, all of them holding these passive angles. Static, which fight can he take? He can't take any. Grixer to take him down and win the round for the Soniqs.
Great discipline from the Soniqs in that 3-way crossfire, not looking to give anything up. And they indeed did read into that rush, right? Second time is not the charm, it seems. SANDBOX, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And I love the genius as well from Soniqs. They went, all right, you did something silly that round. We know how to deal with that. We'll pick the mirror. We'll pick some shields. We'll make sure that the warden is up, and we'll use our smokes very effectively as well to stunt that rush as soon as it came through. They had all 4 players on the same page, playing those crossfires in a much more, what I would say, a much more calculated, on the ball way in comparison to the last round where they continuously got caught out by Good Boy and eventually lost the round, right? So Soniqs, they're back on it. There is nothing that can be taken away from them. They're just not rattled at all by the first round.
And remember, there's a lot of ammunition behind this game, right? The chances of each of these teams making playoffs, you can see on your screen right now. A regulation win for both teams. Well, in this case, for SANDBOX, 29%. For Soniqs, 38%. So really only marginally better.
And the most important thing about this graphic that is currently being shown is that for the Soniqs, they have to win in regulation if they want to guarantee that they cannot be knocked out today. If there's any other result and the games in this group might not go their way, it's possible they could be knocked out here.
Because there are a lot of games in this group, right? And if the teams above these guys manage to qualify, then it eliminates these guys. If these guys lose their following games, then they might not make it. But yeah, for Soniqs, destiny is in their own hands. They will make it to day 3 if they can win this in regulation.
SANDBOX, though, they will begin their attack onto Master Bedroom and Kids' Dorms. Good Boy will be the first point of contest just outside of lobby, looking for any possible spawn peaks. Meanwhile, Yeti in the basement. He could be met by Envy any second now on the Jackal. Does he see his feet? No, he doesn't. There's nothing down here.
Yeah, he's on the other side. He seems to have read into this. Perhaps a bit of odd work from Soniqs has caught this. They're aware that Envy Taylor goes for a lurk like this. I mean, it's seemingly common these days. Envy Taylor spotted on camera, and now Yeti knows he's going to try and trap him out. Is Envy Taylor... Oh, my God,
no.
The cross. Is Envy Taylor going to be holding the right angle as Yeti rounds the corner? Oh, my God, get flicked on! Envy Taylor flexes his muscles on Mr. Muscles himself. And that's an early pick for SANDBOX.
Grenades follow through on the floor as well for Shield. It almost connects. Kansan taken down to a slither of HP and a second one to follow up. Will this one connect as well? Oh, no, it doesn't. Just meters off the mark. A player inside of security as well, but all 4 of his reinforcements are protecting him. That's Super. Super, though, he's trapped in a pinch right now. He's inside of security. He can only escape through the hatch, and Envy Taylor is in the basement.
Wow, it's not looking so hot right now for Soniqs, and it's just gone from bad to worse. Look at SANDBOX. Might have taken a couple of games to warm up, but they might be able to get their first points on the board if they can keep this up.
Envy creeping his way through the basement as well, afraid that Super might drop the hatch at any time, but it doesn't matter anyway. Arakaze to take him down.
Oh,
now,
flawless.
Oh, wow, a flawless round for SANDBOX, going in on this attack, perfectly read into the way that Soniqs were playing this.
Perfection from SANDBOX in that round. They are nailing it. And they have taken the advantage here over Soniqs. This is a damn sight better than their Korean brethren on Damwon Kia did earlier today. And it's also a damn sight better than SANDBOX managed to achieve yesterday. If I recall correctly, only managed to achieve 8 rounds so far of the 2 games that they have played. They got 3 rounds against G2, managed to get 5 against FaZe, which is pretty respectable. But here against Soniqs, it looks like SANDBOX could even be poised to take some points away from this matchup, which would be huge because not only is that keeping their dream alive of making it through to playoffs, but it's a bit of a sweet revenge against the team that knocked them out at 6 Invitational.
And I feel like from that last round, it's really obvious that SANDBOX have voted this particular map quite well. They knew that Soniqs, they do a big 4 reinforcement hold inside of security. They might place somebody there, and knowing to send someone through the basement to cut off that freezer hatch drop, meanwhile the rest of the team pushed through small tower, it really broke apart the Soniqs roam straight away. They had nothing to deal with it, bar Yeti in the basement, who ended up getting taken down. Well read once again. It just feels like SANDBOX are so prepared going into this matchup.
And that was a risk that Soniqs decided to take by going to Oregon. They played this 3 times the NAL and played it once yesterday against FaZe. So there are VODs out there. There's plenty of research for Nova and the other support staff from SANDBOX to do and prepare for this game. And it looks like SANDBOX, they've come into it ready to go.
Now, though, the Soniqs will take us down to the kitchen and dining bomb site once again.
Oh, no.
It's a site that we've seen be pretty new. Actually, they're doing a small tower hold to go into it, supported by Kansan, spawn peeking from that big tower window. He has been droned out. The Ossa shield could pressure him out here.
Yeah, but you can see how aware SANDBOX are of it. Now, this is a hold that we've seen several times from Super. He had a pretty phenomenal performance in this position. That said, you can see SANDBOX have voted this. They know the exact way that they want to deal with this, and they've got this Ossa shield just being held up with the player watching. Oh my god, good boy, that's a hell of a risk. Thankfully, SANDBOX able to trade their player back, but Soniqs get the last laugh. They find 3 kills in the meanwhile.
And the diffuser as well, cold outside of the building. Envy Taylor and Shile, the last 2 to try and clean up this round and pick up the pieces. But like you said, that was a Sonic special right there. That is the MO of Super, his last dance with the Soniqs. And I mean, what better way than to hold on to small tower like that?
Looking good for Soniqs now. SANDBOX's strat just wasn't quite it. There are cracks in the armor, and Soniqs is looking to even this up. They're going to be able to execute onto site, though. Still got the Osso, 2 shields in pocket. Shile's got a fair share of utility as well, let's not forget.
Oh, but he has been taken down by Rexon, now leaving Envy Taylor in the 1-on-4 situation. Super has gone down, thankfully, from that small tower position, so he has one less thing to worry about, but it's looking pretty dire once again. Soniqs, they are so disciplined. Even in this 1-on-4 situation, their experience tells them, okay, we should not give anything away to these guys, and they will take it and run with it. If they get anything, Yeti taken very low, it's a bit dangerous from him.
Yeah, maybe don't keep peeking that, Soniqs. I mean, we sung their praises for the discipline, but for here, and this is a dud round, Envy Taylor looked to bait picks, but Soniqs realistically shouldn't be giving him anything. They played this so well. Attempt at going in. Surely it's not going to work. No, can't quite land those shots there for good boy. But regardless, it is a good reply there from the Soniqs. They've managed to even up the scoreline now, Mandy. It was looking a bit rough, but something I will say, these teams are going back and forth, having dominant rounds on both sides.
Absolutely. This current game feels like the story of these 2 rosters in the format, like embodying it. Don't you think so? Soniqs, they are playing their Oregon, the Oregon that they're so experienced on, the Oregon that they've pioneered strats on, the way they play it. Meanwhile, on SANDBOX, it looks like they have prepared for this. It looks like they are bringing the new to the old, but the experience of Soniqs is catching them out on some rounds. They're just so proficient at their strap book. They're so proficient in their positions.
I mean, that's it. I mean, SANDBOX clearly had a pre-prepared counter strat to deal with Super in small tower. And yet they still lost the round, you know. 4 players still alive on the Sonic side. And it goes to show that, yeah, Sonic, like you said, they are so good at their strats. It might be strats you've seen before, but they're really good at them. So even when you prepare something, it might not cut it.
And it really just comes down to a lot of these gunfights as well. The good boy we saw in that first round, he was so good at being able to clean up the 1 versus 2. But all of these players on the Soniqs as well have also incredible mechanical prowess. They've played their positions hundreds, thousands of times, right? You cannot count them out even though you know exactly what they're going to do.
And Soniqs looking to contest this entry. SANDBOX, for the first time, not going for a blue rush with the blitz on this basement defense. Instead, they will try and address this roam, but Soniqs, like you mentioned, are very keen to go for this roam. This is what they want.
Yeti will be the first point of contest on the Wamaya, holding on to Zulu. Meanwhile, Good Boy, in tandem with his team, trying to pinch out this position, some through Garage, some through Small Tower, but the rest of the Soniqs, they don't want to deal with that. They think that they've wasted enough time now, and falling back down the freezer stairs, just being droned out. Now SANDBOX know they have this ground claw control in their hands.
Logic bomb to detonate. And SANDBOX done a decent job clearing the roam, but Soniqs, I mean, it was really of their own volition that they fell back. Now Shyle, is he able to find anything from Freezer? So many crossfires that he walks into at the bottom of these stairs, all the way deep through laundry, through the closet, through the shirts rotation. Looks like SANDBOX trying to take as much of the map as possible and prepare and feel out where this execute might be valid.
Well, Taylor is the only one with hard breach on his particular roster, and he's committed both of those hard breach charges, one to the hatch inside of meeting and one inside the hatch in lobby. So that means Freezer is staying closed. It's no biggie. They've already cleared the roam is going down it anyway. And it's up to SANDBOX to start to drone out the site and pick apart this anchor setup that the Soniqs had. Now, last time they played it, it was very successful. This time, there is not the mirror in hand, but the Warden to directly counter the Ying pick that Envy's got. If they don't give away the life of Grixer, this could spell disaster for SANDBOX.
This is going to be so difficult for SANDBOX onto the execute. Good util clear, though, for the Koreans. As the American roster holds steadfast on the bomb site, there's going to need to be more bite to this attack, because funneling through these choke points isn't going to work.
And it seems like Envy will be that wild card of the attack on the Ying, dropping through that meeting hatch. Only 40 seconds left to go and no casualties in this round so far, but the canal has come out. It's all happening.
And Grixer is the perfect player to counter that. He's got the Warden with the smart glasses, but what a play there from Static. He gets down, but he retains the numbers advantage for SANDBOX. Soniqs not going to lie down, not going to let it go easy. Kansan with this SMG-11, we know what he's capable of. But it's MV Taylor and Arakuza with 15 seconds left to try and hunt down these final defenders. And MV Taylor's found one, they're hunting for them. 2v1 and Rexon's on for the flank, but he's got the diffuser! Surely there's no way MV Taylor can get back onto site. He's forced to plant. The clutch could come through from Rexon. It's all up to Arakuza to cover! The rookie! With a pistol!
I cannot believe what SANDBOX just managed to pull off there in that execute. I thought that Soniqs had the grip on that site. I thought they had the perfect operators, the perfect positioning, but it doesn't matter anyway because their explosiveness onto that bomb site to get it down and just the smallest slither of HP to get the bomb down from NV Taylor. Oh, wow. What an explosive round that was from SANDBOX.
It was way too close. That was way too stressful there for both teams. And I got to feel if you're Soniqs, you can't be dejected at a moment like that. They're sitting there, and we were singing the praises of this basement defense bomb site, but now they've lost two. They lost to that rush, and they also lost that round, which, to be frank, they were looking pretty well favored on that round. In the NAL, this is quite a defensive favored bomb site. 70% of defense rounds on this bomb site are won, and 74% in APAC North, where SANDBOX is from. the fact that Soniqs has only won 1 from 3 attempts is so concerning.
They're going to reattempt through, and I just want to break down that last round one more time as well, because I feel like the tempo in that execute was very difficult for both of those teams. SANDBOX, they came in, it was explosive, it was crazy. The comms on the side of Soniqs must have been completely rattled. We saw through the middle of that execute, they made some small errors in positioning, and the gunfights they wanted to take that eventually gave away their life, even though they had the man advantage, and you can only feel for Soniqs in that situation. You've just been hit with a load of chaos and you've got to recollect the pieces and just, oh, it's such an unfortunate loss when they played such a good defense.
Charl on for the entry. Rexon trying to redeem himself. Oh, quick slip away. And yet he gets back to sight unscathed. That said, this seems so early. Soniqs, are they scared? They've fallen back and it's only been 35 seconds.
The SANDBOX, they're setting some really fast sector times through the map right now. Good boy, he's already down 2 minutes and 15 seconds left as well. It only took him about, what, 45 seconds to get here. That is some incredible pacing. And Soniqs now left at an even worse position than they were last time. SANDBOX have even more time to consolidate their thoughts and figure out exactly what they want to do and execute it more cleanly. But,
oh wait, there's a player hidden. Have a look. Who is that? Who is that outline, Easy? You got to tell me. Yeti going for a cheeky play. Oh. He does find the down and the finish on to Shile. So Soniqs, they do at least get back to sight with something to say for it.
The Soniqs, the tiniest adaptation, maybe is what they're going to need going into this execute. Last time, there were no casualties going to the execute. This time, they are in the man advantage. They're going to be feeling more confident about their crossfires, more confident about their refrags, because they know all they needed in that last round was composure. The strat was good, the timing was good, and now it's just about pulling it all together, and they want to achieve that in this round.
Grixer takes a hunk of damage there, and he's such a pivotal player in this position. When MV Taylor has the Candelas, he is the playmaker. And that means that Grixer is the one for Soniqs that's got to disrupt that, that's got to be steadfast in the moments where SANDBOX needs the defender's blind. He's got to survive.
Utility starts to ring out on the side of SANDBOX, as well as the first smoke canister from Camden delaying that freezer push, but he can only delay for so long. 50 seconds still left on the side of SANDBOX if they want to bait out more and more and more utility from Soniqs, choke them out of any of their resources.
Candela goes out, another one. How many is Envy going to dedicate here? He's telegraphing a push, but he's not dropping. Is this a bait? Soniqs don't seem to fall for anything. And SANDBOX desperately trying to find an in, but the ADSs, the magnets, there's just so much utility to hold on to for SANDBOX. So Good Boy's going to take matters into his own hands. He finds the pick, and Atakuza traded back immediately. That leaves Good Boy on the ground and just 2 players from SANDBOX to win this half out. It's MV Taylor and Static who've got to step up. Static does. Good Boy managed to get revived, but it's all on MV Taylor now. He's caught on the camera. 1v2, Kansan and Grixer. They should be able to lock this one through. And Soniqs tie up the half.
Composure was the name of the game for Soniqs just then in that round in particular. That was so clean from them. They didn't overcomplicate things. They let SANDBOX have the sight like they did last time. They said, all right, you guys have got it. You got your way in with the yin. You got your way in with the finger. Fair enough. We're going to play adjacent to the site. We're going to let you run into those crossfires. They played that perfectly. Last time, they gave their life away. This time, they were a lot more passive about it and found exactly the right timings to take the fight onto SANDBOX. 3-3 half going into SANDBOX's defense. I just think Soniqs, they've just done so well in terms of strat box. SANDBOX, they've done so well catching them off guard. This is going to be a tight one.
It really will. And that puts a lot of pressure on both these teams. The stakes are elimination. Now, I'm pretty sure, I'll double check, but neither team can be eliminated based on the results of this game. But if SANDBOX lose it, their chances of making playoffs, it goes down to 5%. So realistically, both these teams gunning for as much as possible out of this game to try and make playoffs. SANDBOX haven't even found a point yet on the scoreboard. They've been the embarrassment of their group, unfortunately, and Soniqs not doing a lot better with just 1 point of their own.
Soniqs, though, this is their home turf. This is Oregon. They're happy to go to this map, and I think that if they get a win on this, that will instill some confidence into them where they go, okay, we are still the Soniqs. We are the Soniqs from North America. This is our map, and we know how to play it. Envy will be the first point of contest inside of Zulu. He's going to get aggressive, but falls off. Soniqs, the roam clear from them has been a little bit slower than what SANDBOX were able to achieve, but SANDBOX are being so aggressive about it.
But not lost a player as of yet. A lot of strong anchor utility for SANDBOX. You look at the Mirror, which we didn't see Soniqs play. The Clash we also didn't see Soniqs play. And the Smoke. These operators, phenomenal for holding choke points. And if there's anything that I'm looking at for Soniqs to try and trump that utility in the execute, it's this Ying. We saw Soniqs themselves on defense play Warden to counter it. We don't have that from SANDBOX. So there's a real chance here that Soniqs could leverage that Super could be the difference maker in this round.
2 minutes and ticking down for the Soniqs to make their way in. Still plenty of time, although an impromptu mirror window will go up for Good Boy, reading into the fact that Soniqs might be looking for a freezer-sided take rather than going for a back take. Now, SANDBOX, they do have the Clash in their hands, but hang on a second. The Twitch trying to come in and take down one mirror. Ooh, that could really stunt the push. I mean, that could really add to the push for Soniqs if they want to go for this freezer take instead. But the time is ticking away. It doesn't feel like they're being very decisive as of now.
That said, it's early days, relatively, for Soniqs. They still have over a minute to realize this push once they continue to work away at this utility, opening up a lot of hatches. That meeting hatch has stayed closed, and there's no more hard breach. So that's actually going to be a huge distinction between these Soniqs attacks and the SANDBOX ones. That meeting hatch is not going to be open for them to use.
No, problem with that is that because they left it closed, it is telegraphing the fact that they're going to go for a front take. And we can see Yeti being the only player on the back side of the map to try and distract at least one player of SANDBOX, but the rest of Soniqs have to dedicate that utility to flooding in the front. Now, they've done a great job of clearing that first mirror, and it's just about picking apart the rest of the site.
Oh, what will the Candelas do here for Soniqs? He's going to brute force down into Pillar. Yeti full flashed. How does he manage it? And Soniqs do start the equation with 2 picks. It's all happening here for the North Americans. What an explosive start, but that's the diffuser down on the ground. Shyle, low HP, taken down from Kansan. Static and Good Boy to clutch, but there's only 10 seconds left, and that diffuser is going down the C4! Denied! It's all onto the Clash. Static, what have you got to show for us? It's got to be phenomenal, because if not, Soniqs is taking the round.
And Soniqs with the big bait and switch play there as well. I was just saying, okay, they're not opening up the back hatch. They're not even going to go for it. They can't do it. What's their point of entry? In the end, they completely baited out SANDBOX as well. They baited out the utility of the mirror window to the front. They baited out the Clash to go forwards inside of Laundry as well. All of the players were turned to the front. Even I thought they were going to go for a front take, and we have the
Even
head
we
down.
got you baited.
Instead, they brute forced their way down the back. The combination of Grixer and one of his teammates to go through Blue Bunker. Yeti and Super with the Yin Cancellers to go down the backstairs, completely catching SANDBOX off guard, winning out lots of those gunfights. It was so explosive, and it just, oh, wow, that's so genius from Soniqs.
I gotta say, it's not every day that you get to see a team deliberately Ying flashing one of their teammates. Super just didn't care that he was throwing it straight at Yeti. Yeti just sprinted while full flashed to assert an aggressive position behind the pillar. And it worked, so I guess I can't knock it.
Hey, look, it's trust. These guys have been together for, like, since the beginning of time. It feels like we've had this Soniqs roster for a very long time now. Yeti's like, all right, you flush me and you cover me, bro. Yeah, don't let me die here.
You got to appreciate that. And this Soniqs roster, yeah, they have been together for quite some time. It's about 1.5 years since Soniqs, well, Super, dropped basically the whole team and picked up 4 of the 5 former E United players after they had a shocking season. And amazing what Super and the Soniqs have been able to do with that raw talent, refine it into a real major level contender, a 6 Invitational level contender. And now they're poised very well. The first round, the context, first half rather, the context of that, we felt like SANDBOX had outshone Soniqs. We felt like those attacks on the basement were just too difficult for Soniqs to deal with, and now we've seen the reply, and it's got some merit.
And for Soniqs, you have to give credit to the way that this team has formed over the past year and a bit. The leadership to come out from Super, his last dance, I can only imagine it's pretty heartbreaking for this team, honestly. Someone that brought them together, raised them up. It's just now it's all going away. Yeah. This final last dance for them, and they want to go out with a bang. Soniqs, they're going to be attacking onto this Kids and Dorm spawn site. Now, historically, it's been quite difficult to defend this one. Shyle, though, and Static holding onto this ground floor and basement will make things difficult.
But there's a contest from Soniqs, and Shyle has been droned out now as well. Ooh, Grix are on for the flank watch. Exchanging damage both directions. Static comes away better for it. As the E1D rings out. Ooh, Shile's caught on camera. He might have taken out that one, but there's another one that's now been naded, I guess, by the opponent. So, interesting there. Soniqs not quite having as much bite to this attack as they would like.
But we saw this in the last round as well, right? They take their time through the mid-round, the Soniqs. They don't really seem to commit to anything unless they really, really need to, and they go, okay, we're just going to measure twice, cut once. This is the Soniqs' way so far in the matchup.
They're measuring a lot. They've measured so much that Soniqs only has one drone left on their entire team. There's over a minute to go, and you got one drone left. You start with 9 of those. How do you only have one left?
Well, this is looking a little bit less fortunate now. Not so much intel on the side of the Soniqs, but they look very poised for, once again, another explosive execute. It seems like each Soniqs member is going for a different point of entry to try and get their way into the bomb side.
And Rexon just walks straight on in. The trades, though, a 1 out by SANDBOX. And Grix is not quite done yet. 3 on 3. And this could definitely turn either way, Mandy. Shyle has managed to come back to site and have his own impact. Grix has got pit control, but is that going to mean much? He's now lit up, his position revealed. A couple of quick shots could make the difference, and yet he finds one. 2v2, and so winnable. It's all on Grixer, but he's got to get the 1 versus 1 clutch. No diffuser. Good boy. Is he going to be the best boy he can be, or is Grixer able to clutch up the 1v2? The swing with the F2, he gets it! The Soniqs, once again, stand tall.
We should never doubt this team. We really shouldn't. Every single time they go for this attack, we say, oh, it looks a bit dicey. They're not really going for anything. They haven't committed anything. We can't really see the progress they're trying to make. But look, they have a plan that we have no idea that they're trying to do. Neither do SANDBOX. That attack was, honestly, it was explosive. It was so difficult to follow from the overhead and even in the lobby. I can only imagine SANDBOX saying, wait, guys, they're entering from the double window. Wait, but there's also someone coming up the armory stairs. Oh, someone's just walked up the white stairs and killed me. Oh no, someone hopped in through attic. How is Grixer inside of pit? It's chaos on the side of Soniqs, but this is the team of incredible individuals. They're so good at making their one point of entry and making it their territory just for themselves. And we saw it 2 rounds in a row now.
And you look at Grixer right now on the scoreboard, 13 kills and 3 deaths, plus 10 KD. It's quite something. Soniqs, like, even when, I mean, we want to give them credit because to us it looked like they ran out of drones really early and then they just sent it. Yeah. I'm sure there's an extra layer to that I would love to hear their take on. But from the outward perspective, they've got very little info in the late round. They send it inside and win a 5v5, even in the 1v2 clutch. One more round will get them a 2nd point on the standings and steal away the opportunity of SANDBOX getting that regulation win. So really on for the Koreans here, yet to find a defense win to pull something through.
And momentum has really swung onto the side of Soniqs as well, winning out the last 2 rounds so dominantly as well, and in such a fashion that's left SANDBOX scratching their heads. Now Kansan, he looks a lot more confident entering straight into this building. We've seen him just walk straight into the master bedroom, ready to clear this out because he knows that SANDBOX, they only roam on the ground floor and on this basement. They don't do anything more than that. He knows he can take that space for free.
You're going to keep a keen eye on these Twitch drones throughout the round. They've been so impactful for Rexon. Now SANDBOX are not running the mirror this time, but losing one of those mirror windows to the Twitch was a devastating blow. Getting debated by the opening of the front hatches and then going for the Ying flash down the rear stairs was also painful for SANDBOX. And Soniqs have had so much depth in their strategy, so much mid-round adaptation. But it looks like SANDBOX, they don't want to forfeit this map control. Static kicks it off, taking down the top fragger in the server by no small margin. And that's a huge blow for the Soniqs.
And no refrag to come up yet either. And so the man advantage is still being held by SANDBOX. But how long are they going to hold on to this control for? The hatch inside of Media, I believe, is still closed for Static. So if he wants to get out, he's got to go back through the stage. Well, oh my goodness, he almost landed the wallbang as well. Shyle is there to try and get him out, but he takes an engagement and eventually loses out to Kansan.
A very belated trade, but it's a trade nonetheless. 4v4 now. Soniqs have just about a minute left to make this work. They actually are going to open up this meeting hatch using the AS2 Selmas to detonate. And another avenue open to Soniqs.
Now look, if this is their usual MO, they're going to open up the back hatch and they're going to go to the front. Listen, am I going to get baited this time? Nuh-uh. 50 seconds left. Maybe I am going to get baited. I could call this completely wrong, as I've done for the past 3 rounds. That's very possible.
You can't.
But it does look like a front take. Super is here. Am I finally going to call it right? Are SANDBOX finally going to call it right?
You can't call it until they're actually in the side. That's what I've found with Soniqs. Here come the flashes, and you might well be right. It looks like a front take after all. Rexon and Kansan to file in. But Good Boy here, not flashed. Rexon does find the opener. That's a huge pick. No reply yet. Good Boy can't land the shots he needs to. And Soniqs are running towards match point, but there's Good Boy. What a headshot. It's up to Kansan and Rexon to have the impact that their team needs. But SANDBOX trying to stave off match point. Look at that, the backstab from Rexon. 1v2, can he do it again? How does he keep making this happen? Saved by the bell of the timer. SANDBOX still in it.
What on earth was that from Rexon? That was milliseconds off being a 1-on-3 clutch to bring it back for the Soniqs. And my goodness, once again, another explosive attack from them. But this time, Good Boy was there to hold on. This time, they had accidentally, I don't know if they had intel or that the Warden was there or not, but Good Boy, the one player that they really needed to have the read on where the Ying was, he was there in the right place at the right time. And that Warden really enabled him to take the gunfights that he needed. And just, oh my goodness, what an intense game this has been.
Yeah, it absolutely has been. SANDBOX are really feeling that pressure. The fact that it went from a 3v1 to a 1 millisecond 1v1 where they only won because of the timer. They are going to have to fight tooth and nail to get every one of these rounds that they need. And 2 more and they'll find their first point. If they get even a single more round, I mean, that's just as good as they did against FaZe. But really, SANDBOX need to be gunning for these regulation wins. And if there's any team in their group where they're likely to get it, it seems to be Soniqs.
SANDBOX, though, they've decided to take a different route to their tertiary site. They're not taking us to kitchen and dining like what Soniqs did, but instead taking us to kitchen and meeting instead. With an extended hold through this top floor, Envy Taylor holding onto it with his Valkyrie cameras and static as well, with the aid of those yokai drones. The Soniqs, I'm not sure exactly what attack they're going to go for this. They've decided to bring along Yeti on the ace instead, and now that could open up a lot of options for them. They could go straight through lobby, open up some of these walls. They could go through big tower into meeting. We're not really sure what they're going to go for yet, but the options are there.
This bomb site kitchen meeting is actually 3 times more popular globally than kitchen dining, so Soniqs will be well used to attacking it. It's commonplace. That said, we're seeing a nice little usage of the yokais to do some early scouting, a bit similar to what we saw from Rogue. Deepak was praised for his use of supporting roamers with those yokais. Envy Taylor on feeling out this position. The yokai gets spotted and retreats on back. What's Envy Taylor going to be able to do on this roam? Is he going to be hunted down?
Now, something that I didn't really touch on is the fact that Soniqs have actually brought double soft breach. They've brought double vertical operators. And so I can imagine that is why they're putting a lot of pressure in this top floor. They want the control to make use of the utility that they have. Envy Taylor, to be the first to go down but not out, will be the in that Soniqs need to creep their way through this top floor. But Good Boy, he takes down Yeti.
And he's going to get this revive off as well. Very risky doing it right in front of that window. The Soniqs are actually not in too shabby a position right now. We saw earlier Super had managed to get one of his 0 SAM cams into meeting by shooting it from lobby, and it can go through the door. There's info though for SANDBOX too, as Rexon's spotted in games. Looking now to try and clear out this top floor. It's Rexon and Grixer. Both have been shining lights for Soniqs, but SANDBOX are pretty well close here to evening this up. Envy Taylor, don't know if they're aware of his position. He falls back, and it's a flood into the site. What's happening? Shyle taken out. The plan is going down.
Oh no, Shyle taken down with his pants down as well. Now Super to cover the plant. For SANDBOX, the retake is on for them. Bomb has gone down.
4v3 numbers in advantage for SANDBOX. The yokai too little too late, but it might give them the info that they need. Grixer is in a position above. He might be able to flank and cut off any of these SANDBOX players. Soniqs in a precarious position, but Grixer once again, he drops down in the kitchen. And this is a tough ask now for SANDBOX. They've got to find the timing right. They've got to find the players right, but Grixer, He's finally put out, and Static can win it! Arakuza to trade himself, and there is enough time for the Koreans to even the scoreline. They are ecstatic.
That was a very swift retake on the side of SANDBOX. They went, oh no, hang on a second, we've just lost one of our players on the site, on cams. So I was like, guys, we gotta go right now. It's all happening inside of the bomb site. And they went, uh-oh, give it that top floor, immediately come back onto the site. The trades went out in their favor in the end, even though I thought the Soniqs actually had a brilliant post plan. They had Grixer drop through that kitchen hatch, try and catch any players off guard. He went through Zulu, was able to take out any players rotating through there. But in the end, somehow, SANDBOX came out on top. And that just goes to show that these two teams are just so closely matched up. When one team looks like they have a grip on the round, the other team immediately swoops in with something explosive, something unexpected to take it out.
And that's one hell of a call from Super as well, based on the information from the zero cam he got in meeting, to go for that rush. Almost got them the round. And by the seat of their pants, SANDBOX managed to steal it back in their side. And there's a very good chance here that the Koreans could find the first point on the standings of any Korean team this tournament. We've got two Korean teams, SANDBOX and Damwon. Both have been so disappointing, so plagued by strife during this tournament. SANDBOX is just one round away of getting there first.
Soniqs, though, I actually really liked what they showed in that last round. They showed us that they know how to change the pace of their attacks. At one point, this mid-round to late-round explosivity is going to start getting readable for the side of SANDBOX. I really like that they were able to be adaptable and change up something new. Hang on a second, though. Grixer, he's got a bit of intel that someone might be roaming down the laundry stairs. I think that's Static, but he's fallen off a grenade to come through, but it doesn't connect. Static still sitting in the basement, and the rest of SANDBOX really holding on to as much map control as they possibly can right now.
Nice little usage of the Maverick here by Soniqs. Starting to put some pressure at the top armory stairs. You can see SANDBOX not really holding much onto Trophy. Really falling back towards that site and fortifying their positions. Still a player in T3 of Tower. What's he going to be able to achieve? Looks like Soniqs might just be able to go for a rush again. I mean, opening up fairly early here, the breach.
I think I'd agree with you. They seem to have a pretty good read on the fact that the site is relatively empty. That being said, Envy is able to take someone down at the top of the armory stairs. That's Kansan. That's your Maverick player going down, and two of your nades as well. So the rest of SANDBOX have keyed into the fact that Soniqs, okay, they're looking to hit the site once again. They're recalling all of their roamers back towards the site to start establishing those crossfires and preventing Soniqs from making their way in.
Bit of a standstill now. Envy Taylor wondering, is it time to go back to the site yet? The real scary thing for me, for Soniqs, well, for SANDBOX rather, is that Soniqs have this guy called Grixer, and he's just nuts. 15 and 5. He's had 5 multi-kills this game as well. Every round he seems to have an impact. If he's the next one to fall, if SANDBOX can take him down, it changes the landscape so much! And I said it, and it happened straight away. Envy Taylor shuts down that so impactful player for Soniqs.
Oh, no way. Or my disc inside of the ground floor to catch out the vertical nade too. Yeti has to throw his second, but there's only 40 seconds left. Rexon, he's made his way in though.
And he's going for another one. What a headshot. Rexon and Super together have made this nigh impossible for Envy Taylor. He is gonna have to ace as the plant is going down. One of the most experienced and oldest players at the tournament, with the game resting on his shoulders. A chance now to get their first point of the tournament. And he sees the feed. It's a 1v1. Can he ace up? What is that from Envy Taylor? The 1v3 ace.
And the back-to-back clutches to defuse as well for SANDBOX. They do not crumble, even when Soniqs try to change the pace, even when they try to catch them off guard, when they have the hold on the site. They really don't, because you have a SANDBOX player that's there to stab your back, retake the site straight away, and my goodness, these players are relentless. They do not give up. Now SANDBOX at match point.
That's got to be one of the most amazing players I've seen in quite some time. Not every day you get to see at a major a 1v3 that is also an ace. to keep the game alive, to keep the chances of this regulation win alive. Now Soniqs call their tactical timeout, but guess what? SANDBOX are allowed to use that as well. So you can see their coach, I believe that's Fanxy behind, giving them a bit of a talking to, letting them know what's going on.
Match point for SANDBOX to finally collect their first point, actually, on that match point of this entire group. That is big for them. They must be feeling really ecstatic going into this possible final round, but they're not just going to settle with one dev. They want all 3 points. And like you said, just as much as Soniqs could be using this, SANDBOX could be using it to talk about those 3 points. They're just so close in reach right now.
APAC North, and Korea specifically, has struggled so much at this tournament. They've seen teams like Elevate go flawless throughout the groups. They've seen Gladiators get a point against Wolves. And now SANDBOX have finally gotten their own first point. But they know that the dub is within reach. It's so close. And guess what? They're defending this basement bomb site. They have done it before. They can do it again.
And they're repeating the same formula as well as we saw them do last time they defended this. They are going to lean into the mirror, holding onto some of those anchor positions, but this time they've brought something a little bit different as well. They're bringing the Aruni as well. And specifically, they're putting the Aruni on any entry points that those Yings might come through. We've got one, oh, there we go, on the hatch. That's exactly where Candelas typically get rolled through. We've got another one on the freezer angles. That's where Super was coming through last time, as well as the laundry double as well. So they're a little bit more prepared for this utility dump when Soniqs eventually go for it, because they know it's inevitable. It's going to come at any time. And like we can see now, Super back on that Ying.
Still no Warden though, and Rexon is still on that Twitch. So I've got to wonder, is it going to be possible for him to take down some of those mirror windows? It proved deadly for SANDBOX prior. I also wonder how long we're going to see this roam come out from SANDBOX.
That's true. Last time they were a little bit overzealous on it. They overstayed their welcome. Shyle tried to get his teammate back in by coming up to the stage, but in the end, Static went, no, I can hold on to this. Oh, hang on a second. I'm dead. And it eventually came back to bite them because they didn't have that man advantage. This time, I can only imagine it's a little bit more passive. We can see them, instead of playing in meeting, they're going to double up inside of tower instead. Now, this is a much safer place for them to try and fall off.
Pressure now very much on the Soniqs' shoulders. They were in the advantage, as they were in the game against G2. And now they sit here and wait. Well, get to work, to be honest, on this map clear. It's been a minute and they've made good progress, but it's the tense moments that I'm worried for them for. It's the late round. When things get a little bit dicey, that's when we need Soniqs to deliver, because there are no second chances when you're staring down match point and yet another 0-point game.
Well, you spoke about that roam, and that roam with just one drone has decided to fall back completely. So all 5 players of SANDBOX now waiting on the site patiently for the onslaught of the Soniqs to come. But they're playing a little bit more aggressively in Freezer this time. They don't want to give as much map control to the Soniqs as they previously could. But Envy, he's the first to kick it off onto Kansan.
And Atakuza decides to fall back as well off of his aggressive position. The 2 deadliest players for Soniqs, though, are still alive in the server. Grixer and Rexon have been so deadly, the double X duo. And as long as they're alive, I'd say there's still a decent chance for Soniqs. And what a play there. No, the mirror stayed alive. That's huge.
Goodness, everything is falling apart for the Soniqs now. The first pick not going their way. Can they make something happen? Can they pull something out of the bag to keep themselves in this series? Only 40 seconds left to go, Dev.
And there's no two ways about it. This is going to have to be the Candelas from Super. 30 seconds remaining. The first Candela to go out. Another one through. What is the play? Spamming these Candelas, it's Atakuza. He's had a disappointing tournament so far, but now it's up to him to hold on. And Static and Shyle aren't even going to let him see anybody. Soniqs dropping like flies, and SANDBOX is about to do what no Korean team has done this entire tournament. A huge dub for APAC North as SANDBOX take down the Soniqs.
And all 3 points as well. That's no overtime win. That's no just 1 point. They were not happy with that 6 point. They wanted all 3 points. And that shoots them up in the standings as well. Now they are much more competitive to the rest of this group. And SANDBOX, wow, what incredible performance from all of these. We saw clutches upon clutches, post plants not going the way of the Soniqs over and over and over again. And it just goes to show SANDBOX, they are relentless. They do not give up.
This is huge for SANDBOX. Their chances of making it to players has gone up to 29%. Now, that deal still doesn't sound great, but this is a lifeline for them. They've also got another game against Soniqs later, where if they can repeat this feat, they will increase that even more. On the flip side, for our NA friends, for Super's outgoing journey, only 10%. So there's a lot to go. We will break down the rest of that game after this short break. What a game that was between Soniqs and SANDBOX, and we do have the first win for a Korean team here at the Six Major Berlin. It was not an easy one, though. Soniqs really pushed them. In particular, what phenomenal scenes from Grixer and Rexon.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some big highlight plays in that 7, not just on the side of SANDBOX, but even on the side of Soniqs as well. Every single player just showed up today so well. SANDBOX with their, I suppose, explosivity with that new blood coming into it. And the Soniqs, wow, their strat book on Oregon is just insane. I love watching them play that map. It's so fluent. But in the end, the new blood will take down the old guard.
It's true. You can never count out Soniqs, but apparently you can also never count out Korea, even after losing as many games as they have. Let's have a look at the match summary and break down what really went on, the meat and potatoes of that game, because it was a bit of a wild ride, Mandy. It was back and forth at the start, and Soniqs seemed to run away with it, and then it was just all yellow all day.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy as well. I was giving so much hope to the side of the Soniqs. Once they got away with those late round explosive executes, once they were getting into the heads, scratching the heads was the players of SANDBOX. It's like going, what are Soniqs trying to go for? Eventually, SANDBOX were able to figure out the formula that Soniqs were trying to do. They were able to counter them, but specifically the post plant. That was the big highlight for the side of SANDBOX. It just felt like Soniqs, even though they had a grip of these attacking rounds, they had a grip of the side, they couldn't hold onto them to let that bomb go down.
I'm amazed still at that highlight play from MVTail. I mean, there were a lot of highlight plays here. When you have a player like Grixer go 15-7, I think he had about 5 multi-kills. Yeah, you're going to have some highlight plays, but even though MVTail, he didn't get as many kills as Grixer, and he died more often, he got a 1 versus 3 ace to keep them in the game, and they ended up delivering on top of that as well. Honestly, it's just amazing to see. Like, MV is one of the oldest players at the tournament right now. Of all the players who've date of births I actually have, he is the oldest.
That's crazy.
And he's also an OG, and yet he can still pull it off.
Yeah. Just goes to show you just can't take down the old guys. They've been around for ages. They've got the experience. All these young Zoomers going QE, trying to peek you. These guys are like, bang, you dead. It's over. And yeah, NB, wow, what an incredible ace clutch that was.
He also played a bit of Blitz as well at the start of the game, which is a bit of fun, bit of a throwback. But what does that really mean for these teams now? I mean, SANDBOX, they've got a second hope. Let's have a look at the group standing, see how it's panning out, because it's shaken up a little bit by this result. Soniqs not quite doing so well anymore. They needed that win over SANDBOX to keep themselves in realistic contention, and now it becomes so much more difficult for them.
And I think it's important to keep in mind, everyone at home, there are still so many more games to be played. We are just halfway through the day, and there's still a whole other day tomorrow of games. Every team still has to do their repeat games against each other. There is no counting anybody out just yet, especially off the back of that SANDBOX win. If they can win maybe 1 or 2 more, they're in contention for that playoff spot, and that would be crazy for Korea.
That's it. I mean, Soniqs, their chances of making it have gone down to 10%, but they still have 3 games to go. They're halfway through their group so far, and now they'll get a chance to replay all of the teams that they have lost to, and if they can win those games, there's a decent chance they'll make playoffs. As you can see, FaZe and G2, they'll be playing very shortly. Both of them have been doing, I mean, a lot better. FaZe, obviously, flawless so far. Are they who we're looking most likely to make it out of this group at the minute?
Well, for FaZe, if they are able to clean up G2 in regulation, that puts them on 9 points. Now, I could be wrong in the math, and I know Sprabuni is going to come and see me afterwards and be like, you can't say that. But I feel like 9 to 10 points locks you into that playoffs.
Yeah, I heard 10 to 12.
Something like that. Something like that. There you go. 9 or 10 points in that mark puts you very, very comfortably in that playoff spot. After that, you really only need to win 1 more game. FaZe, they look like they're in amazing form as well. And if they can take it to G2, who honestly have also been looking in crazy hot form, it could put them in that playoff spot.
What excites me about Group B is it doesn't feel like there's any dud team. You know, none of these teams are immediately counted out. You know, with that, the Soniqs and SANDBOX result going how it did, it's given us hope for SANDBOX. And with Soniqs playing as well as they have against both SANDBOX and G2, it gives us hope for them further as well. But that is it for that match. But we've got more games. We're only halfway through the day, so don't go anywhere. Stick around. We've got so much more Siege to play.